59. Page. Okay. Yeah, I guess we're up here. The 14 enticements. For Veroi Shinavar Atam Menachel Kasheni Hazeh. Dimyoinim Shiumdu Mehem Sharinyan. So it's appropriate from the second chelik to explain, to give examples. What was the second category? Says Rav Miller Sholzinia, of the persuasive arguments that were introduced at the end of the fourth parak of this shar. What was the second? Oh my goodness. That one too, at the end of the fourth parak of this shar. Let's take a quick look. I'm gonna go fourth parak. Parak Shlishi, parak B. How do we find it? Ignorance of Hashem's mitzvahs and his Torah, maybe. Okay, so let's see what he says here. So he says, we'll give you examples. You'll be able to then apply it. Understand the other cases. With Hashem's help, you'll be able to avoid them. When you know them, for there's no good thing that doesn't have a corresponding affliction that can harm it. For everything that's good, so there's a parallel. There's something, I guess that's the job of the Yetzer Hara, wherever there's good to try to counteract it. So he says over here, even the good can be misused. There's an important principle here. Nothing good in this world is entirely good. You have to learn these possibilities beforehand so you can be on guard. Someone who's become aware of the kinds of complications that can spoil good deeds. So then you know how to avoid it. If you know the enemy, you could plan accordingly. If you don't know, so you don't realize it, catch you unaware. If you only know the good and you don't know where there's a place to for the rat to come in, so you'll not retain any of it, of the good, because of all the complications that are affecting it. One of the Hasidim would instruct his Talmidim, first learn about evil in order to avoid it, and then learn what's good and do it. Plow for yourself a furrow, and don't sow your grain among the thorns. First clean the field, get rid of the thorns and the weeds, and then you can plant the seeds. Maybe it's a little bit like Sume Rabba Say Toiv. So he says like this, let's say a man observes the various tricks of merchants who deceive their customers. For instance, these merchants bury their weights in salt. It's a question in the Gemara, right? When they're not being used, and so they absorb something from the salt and become heavy as a result. So this guy sees that's what they're doing. He wants to teach them. Still, he has to be careful because people will hear about the method of deception, and the Amoyim will say it's a good idea. In other words, if you publicize how the crooks are getting away with things, so it'll give ideas to the crooks. You got to be careful. When Rabbi Zaka heard this, he didn't know what to do. Should he tell the public about the false ways? He's afraid they learn how to use them too. Therefore, no matter what, always know beforehand what could come out of your mitzvah that might be harmful. You have to be careful. I guess we'll get more examples. Fraudulent weights and measurements. Oily im oimar, oily im loyom. That's what he referred to above. Oily im oimar, woe to me if I speak. And oily im loyama. It's a lose-lose situation. I have to say because I have to protect people. And I can't say because it's going to teach people how to steal. If I do speak up, the crooks, the dishonest people may learn. But if I don't speak, because then the crooks will say, they're naive, they're not familiar with our tactics, our fraudulent practices. Did he say, so the Gemara there says that at the end said, so what happened? Did he say it? Didn't he say it? For Amran, he did speak about it. And he based himself on a pasuk. He decided based on a pasuk in Hosea, Yisharim Dachi Hashem, Tzadikim Yachuba, Yufayshim Koshuba. A very powerful pasuk. Ways of Hashem are straight. They're just. They're right. They're correct. And the righteous people will walk in them. It's a path for them. They accomplish. But the sinners will stumble. The same Torah, the same Darkei Hashem. And he gives some examples. An honorable bill can be a very good thing. It's a great thing. And tzadikim yochubai, if you drive it carefully, you drive it to minyan, he says, you take children to yeshiva. It's a wonderful thing. It's a tool, it's a gift, but it'll also be used to waste a lot of time. So Hashem says, I'm going to give it to you anyway. It's as a test. It's a good gift. How are you going to use it? This person decides to become a Vasikin man and happens early minyan. Sounds like a perfect thing. So he says, but what's the flip side? What could be negative? It's a great thing. If you dominate a regular basic process where there's a Rav who talks and explains the chiyuvim of people, so sometimes you catch on to some wrong things you're doing. He pictures the Vasikin minyan as being just, sort of a small club, not part of the main shul. So you don't have a Rav teaching you. And it might be better not to go to Vasikin. Vasikin could be a way, a trick of the Yitzhar, so that you never learn. Years and years could pass by and you'll never hear criticism. Let's say instead of going to a regular based Knesset where a Rav makes speeches, you go to yeshiva. If you wake up early and go down to yeshiva, it makes you feel good. And it's a good environment, but all they need you for is to maintain the yeshiva. It's interesting. Here he's saying it's better to go down in the shul with a Rav. The problem is that he's talking about a Rav like himself. A Rav like himself, you're going to learn good things because the Rav's going to teach you. There's a lot of Rabbanim out there that say what the people want to hear. And then you're not going to get any messages. Let's say a man settles in Eretz Yisrael but can't make a living. He didn't have access to the jobs that were available in America. Unless he could be a big Rosh Hashiva, Grave Nalamed. It puts a strain on his marriage, and he had to give his wife a get. Had he thought it through, had he understood that sooner or later he'll have to start supporting his children, marrying off his daughters, he wouldn't have gone. He had no money at all, and he didn't have any rich relatives in America to support him. Had he remained in America, he wouldn't have had to get to the state. There's plenty of work in America. Even when a man asked to be so Salanta generations ago, telling Eretz, he said, think it over. How will you make a living there? I think most of us know. I shouldn't say most of us know. I'm sure Rav Granovsky knows, and I know plenty of people who made the decision to come to Eretz Yisrael, but they had kids, whether teenage kids, the younger kids, and they moved to Eretz Yisrael, and the kids were not able to make that switch, and they ended up with a lot of difficult children who had to go through a lot of issues, and not all of them came out okay. If they would have stayed in America, those kids most probably would have been better.
And I know people who couldn't make parnas, and it was very hard for them.
Right, that's what he's saying. He's talking even could be a stress on the shalom bayis. He can end up with it again. So it's a good thing. Moving to Eretz Yisrael, no one's saying it's not a good thing. It's a terrific thing. But you have to know, this is what he's saying, the Chovos haLevavos is teaching us. You have to know that even in the good maisim, the Yitzhara finds a place. It could be. We had referred to earlier, I think. I know we discussed, what is the Satan doing in front of us? We know he's there to block us from doing mitzvahs. What's he doing in the back? What's he doing behind us? I said up for Malta, he says that he's there to push us to do mitzvahs. Sometimes he makes the cheshbon better than us. He was talking about it's a mitzvah to go to the bris, it's a mitzvah to go to the wedding, it's a mitzvah to go to an engagement party. As long as you don't learn, do all kind of mitzvahs. But here's other examples of mitzvahs. Going to Vasikin. And I admit, I go to Vasikin. Okay, but if I went to regular meeting, there wouldn't be a Rav there either. So, but you have Vasikin. But the Yitzhak says, that's great. Let him have that. Let him get up. Let him feel that he's a tzaddik and it's terrific. He's going to miss. There's no Rav saying the drasha between Musaf and between Kriyas Torah and Musaf, sending messages to the people. And that says the Yitzhak, I'd rather he does that. Right? So every good thing has negative sides without thinking before it, you could make serious errors. And that's what it says. It's not enough to see now. You have to be able to see down the road. What are the ramifications of this mitzvah? So, Chovos haLevavos is a powerful statement that the mitzvahs, sometimes it's better not to do them. Vaimer. You'll say, you could ask, what do you mean? If it's a mitzvah, it's a mitzvah. And I have to do what I have to do, and Hashem has to take care of it. So I don't know, something we have to figure out here. Something you have to say.
Mishkal HaChasidus.
Mishkal HaChasidus.
There's no other parag that that's a thing. But you got to use your brain. When should I do it? When should I not do it?
Okay, but there he's talking about Hasidus already, right? Hasidus is
okay,
already beyond the letter of the law.
But it's just an extension over here. Hasidus, God is Vasikin is Vasikin, it's also Hasidus.
Vasikin is Hasidus, right? Right. Okay. V'oimer says the Chovos haLevavos. I'll bring you another point, and I'll say a new point. Everything we mentioned so far, the attempts of the Yitzhak to create doubts in a person's mind. We had 10 things. If he's unable to raise those doubts about your basic beliefs, like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bria, but then argue about these beliefs with objections and proofs in an effort to discredit the validity in his mind. So let's see. I mean, well, what does that mean? I mean, we're talking about someone who couldn't raise the doubts. So Miller's examples are this. Suppose you're a person who's able to answer the Yetzer Hara. You now refute all the wrong arguments against the truth. So the Yetzer Hara says now, how are they able to penetrate this tzaddik's inner mind, start spoiling his life? Let's say man has a newspaper in the house that brings news of new discoveries of evolution every year, every day of the year. After a while, it might penetrate a little bit. If he doesn't know that the Yetzer Hara is doing it all. Well, sometimes he works in a place where people talk about certain things. He listens to it without the intention of being influenced, of course. But after a while, something happens. The Yitzhara tries all kinds of measures, even for a person who feels confident and he knows the truth. A very good from Ben Ter from Brooklyn, he's saying, Meister Shaya moved to Los Angeles. Now, he's writing this a long time ago. Los Angeles wasn't quite a Makkah Torah. He got a job in some modern co-ed yeshiva. He's a parnasa, he was going to teach Torah, and today he's far away from what he used to be because he doesn't open a sefer. He goes to certain places for amusements he never would have dreamed of doing. I mean, we hear about Rabbanim, B'nai Torah Rabbanim who go out to more modern communities with the best intention. And they themselves are influenced. They're influenced. They start, meeting the people. They don't have the strong backbone. And down the road, 20, 30 years ago, they've changed. This man has ruined himself. He's not a Russia, not Pikaris, but he certainly is 100 miles away from where he was before in his character and his conduct as a Bentura. So if you move because of Parnasi, you have to consider what's going to happen to your family. Person must be royas anoilad. Ukshtamed al bitulay. When you understand the nullification of his arguments, for chalishus royosam and the weakness of his proofs. Well, you chalamed kinadecha and the Yetzirah can't stand up to you. Well, yivata mashedata mitosay ve'ruroy, and that he can't discredit what you know is to be true and uncontestable. The masha kabnal of Bashar is there. Yoshev, so then the Yitzhak will try this approach. He'll tell you these arguments. Okay, now he's going to say, there's another level of the Yitzhahara. Again, we're learning Yichor HaMaisa. Let's chasa that over, right? And the Yitzhahara doesn't want that. He wants to infiltrate. So the first enticement is pleasing other people. That's his heading. Chovos haLevavos is a model of very high standards. What the author is going to tell us now, although it's absolutely true in practice, most of us are not urged to follow it. He's going to persuade you to find favor with people. Let them see what a good man you are, how friendly you are, how firm you are, how learned you are. That's the way we talk to people. Urge them to be good for their own benefit. You should be good, because why would people say otherwise? We tell boys, when you learn successful, you'll get a good shidduch. You'll get a good position. Chovos haLevavos is now talking of people of high caliber. So we're going to continue to say the reason I'm not going to shout at my wife is so the neighbors think I'm a nice fellow. We'll try to act nice in our homes and make a good impression on people. Nevertheless, it pays to learn Chovos haLevavos and know what actually is the right way. He's saying that's good, says Rav Miller. Well, we said until now that's good. It might be a little bit loy lishma, but it's using the loy lishma to do good things. He says, but the Chovos haLevavos now is saying, well, what's the ideal? And like Rav Miller says, keep it in front of your eyes. You may not be there, but let it be up there. Something you could strive for. Kamani samech binyanecha. The Yitzhak will take advantage of your complacency and say, wow, I'm so happy with the way you're serving Hashem. Your strong beliefs, your sincere devotion to Hashem. You've already reached degrees of chesed, of piety. Not attained by anyone else in your generation. And as a result, you have done more than enough to show your gratitude to Hashem for his kindness and his goodness to you. Right? That's what he says to you. You're doing so well. Right? So, Lamaisa, you fulfilled the obligation of being Makir Taif HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of thanking him. Because look what you did.
So so how does that relate to what he was just saying before, thinking about worried about what the other guy is going to think? I'm going to be good because if not, the other guy is going to think negatively of me.
Yeah.
So how does this relate to what the Yetzer Hara is telling you, that you're a great guy, you've done so well, you fulfilled your obligation? I'm not seeing the connection.
No, I think because I think what he wants you to feel good about yourself. And that's the title of Rav Miller here.
Oh,
Beware of complacency.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
You feel you've done it. You've fulfilled the obligation more than enough. Because you're doing really good.
Okay.
Right? It's time I say to you, the time has now come for you to also pay back some of your obligations to other people. You're already doing your duty to Hashem. Now you have to think about whether you're fulfilling obligations to mankind. The way you behave to mankind, that's going to be the cause of your success or your failing. It's clear that when people will favor you, that'll be your glory. And when they get angry, it's to your detriment. So what's he saying? So now the Yetzer says, so try to do things that's going to make them happy. Find favor in their eyes. Says in Pirkei Avos, if you're well liked by your fellow men, so right, that's where the Yetzer Hara is going to come. He's saying that's going to be his next attack. He says over here, if I satisfy people, Hashem will be satisfied with me, right? So he says, haLevavos is warning us against that mindset. In practice, we don't follow what the authors say. We do try to find favor in people's eyes, get a good name. If you behave in such a way, it'll be for your benefit. You'll be rewarded in this world. He says, but the haLevavos wants us to keep in mind that that's not the right way. It's only necessary for us to move out of our rut and start accomplishing things. Okay, in a minute he's going to tell us the answer to this, but it's interesting what he says. He explains how we should reply to the persuasion of Yetzer Hara. Although we're going to learn it, how do you argue against this mindset and understand the ideal attitude in this matters? Again, understand that almost all of us, in parentheses, including myself, respond to the low method of encouragement. Parents tell their children, rabbis tell their talmidim, rabbis tell their congregations, do these things because they're going to help you. People will like you. It's going to be a benefit in many ways when the world sees that you're a man of proper behavior. Get good sleeping habits, right? So you could be successful. These are like the shmaz. Encouraging learning is always based on that. Showing off is a very big factor. People don't realize how much the desire for covet, for glory from people is the dynamo that makes them learn. If you take out the dynamo, the whole machinery will stop functioning. Just to learn because Hashem wants us to is not enough. However, although we're going to follow the slow system of encouragement because we can't help it, we should learn the way that Hashem expects of us who are devoted to Him. When we know there's such a thing as serving Hashem, not because of any interest of what people think, only what Hashem will think, that itself is a big accomplishment. Even though we're not obeying it, at least we know what is expected from us. If we don't know what's expected for us, so we don't have, you have to raise the bar, you say. You have to know what's really. You have to be realistic. You have to know that this is what works for the average person. And it's not bad. He says, even himself, this is what makes it, but we do have to know that what's the ultimate. That's the ultimate. Why did I want to say that? Something on the tip of my tongue. When a person learns today Shaloi Lishma, but he knows the teaching of Chovos haLevavos, he hopes in his heart that maybe someday he'll come to Lishma. The Mephoshim mostly say, if I'm not mistaken, right, Roganovsky, that Shaloi Lishma, Bo Lishma. That's the way. There's no other way. It's not like it's a bit dieved. That's the way you get to Lishma, is the stepping stone to Shaloi Lishma. And he's saying even the Shaloi Lishma is not so bad. But you should know that there's such thing as serving Hashem Lishma. Even though you won't arrive at real Lishma, a certain element of Lishma, the awareness of the right way, is already mixed in his deeds. If he never learned the Chovos haLevavos, it never entered his mind. He's always learning for some low reason, such as that, so people respect him. We should be successful in this world. They say from one of the Sabas, the Altas, that he used to say, "Was will the Tat?" He used to say to himself, "What does my father want? My father in heaven." Right? That was the only issue by him. That was the only everything he looked at was, what does Hashem want? At least you can have that as a goal. So all these people are succeeding and learning should know that one of the great forces driving them is the desire for recognition and glory. At least, however, if they learn the Chovos haLevavos, they know that there's something more than that that's required. It's standing in the background as an ideal. A little of that ideal is mixed into all the things they do. So even though, let's say, the major thing that's driving them is the Lo Lishma, but since they know there's a concept, so they also try, and it's mixed in there, that sometimes they're doing it also Lishma. That's why it's so important to learn the ideals, even if you're not going to do them. At least you know there's such an ideal. So it gives a tinge of Lishma to what you're doing. Okay, we'll stop here. And Mr. Hashem, tomorrow he's going to have the answer. How do you answer the Yetzer Hara when he sells you this standard? Okay.